Ever since the dawn of time, people have been asking themselves one question. Why don't Jedi turn their lightsabers on and off during the middle of duels? I mean, it makes sense, right? If you wanted to, you could turn your lightsaber off, move your handle closer to your opponent, and activate the blade. So you might be wondering, why has this never happened? Well, I'm here to tell you that it has happened. I'm going to tell you about a story of when this happened, and I'll also be going over why it's so rare, and honestly not a great idea, except in rare circumstances. The example I'll be using comes from the Star Wars Expanded Universe novel Dark Tide Part 2, Ruin. This novel takes place in 25 ABY, which is the same year that the Yuuzhan Vong invasion started. If you don't know who they are, the Yuuzhan Vong are an alien species from another galaxy that were outside of the Force and could not be sensed or touched by it. They were blind to it in a way, which made combat with the species especially hard for the Jedi, who could no longer rely on the Force to predict their attacks and block and defend themselves. This comes into play and is one of the reasons Jedi Corran Horn decides to try this move. The first time we see this in the novel happens when Corran Horn is sparring with Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker's wife. The novel tells us that they are old friends and have dueled each other many, many times. They know each other's moves and style incredibly well. This is what happened with Obi-Wan and Anakin. They sparred with each other so many times they knew each other's fighting style almost as much as their opponent did. Anyway, they both tried to push each other to their limits every time they sparred. As a result, Corran Horn tried a different move. Here's what the passage says. Mara swung her lightsaber at his blade, attempting to batter it aside. However, there was no spark and no hiss from collision of the blades. Her mighty swing spun her around and she completed the circle. The blue blade carved an infinity symbol in the air before her. Now right after this, they discuss what just happened. Turning your blade off in the middle of a fight is a foolish thing to do, Mara said. I know, Corran responded, but I could have easily switched the blade lengths as you went to beat my blade aside. A stop thrust is very effective against an incoming enemy, if you know the enemy is incoming. I figured you'd have to press your attack. I doubled the blade, giving you a way to take the blade out of play. Then I killed the blade as you went to knock it aside. Another touch of the thumb button, and you get spitted. So there's a lot of technical Star Wars Jedi fight jargon that was just said, and it might have been kinda hard to follow, but basically what he was saying, to my understanding at least, is that Corran made the blade longer so that Mara would try to bat it away, while he moved at a far enough distance, then turned his blade off. Luke Skywalker compared it to how Obi-Wan sacrificed himself by holding his blade in salute. Later on in the novel, Corran uses his move against an actual opponent, a Yuuzhan Vong military leader named Shidayo Shai. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I'm not fluent in Yuuzhan Vong. Anyway, the battle between the two raged on for quite some time, with Corran being injured and continuing the duel. Corran again used the same technique, turning his lightsaber off, which caused the Yuuzhan Vong to be thrown off balance and plunge his weapon into the ground. Corran then placed the lightsaber on his stomach. He then ignited the blade. So that's an example of this technique being used. The technique's name is called Trickada. Here's a passage from the guide, A Jedi Path, that goes into this. In Trickada, a Jedi can take advantage of one of the lightsaber's unique abilities, the ability to be rapidly switched off and on. In passing the blade, a Jedi shuts down the saber to momentarily bypass the enemy's block, then immediately reactivates it for a killing strike. If two combatants have locked their sabers together, a trained Jedi may choose to deactivate his or her saber and throw the enemy off balance. So we've seen that this move can and has been done before, and even has its own name. So why don't we see this a lot? Jedi and Sith both have various reasons for not typically doing this. Jedi try not to use deception, while Sith view it as a weakness. Also, just practically speaking, it can be very dangerous. Say for instance, two people are dueling. If person A swings their lightsaber at person B, then turns their blade off, person B could just as easily flick their wrist and kill person A before they have a chance to reactivate their blade. So that's the ability where lightsaber users turn their lightsabers on and off while dueling. I hear people all the time ignorant of the fact that Jedi and Sith turn their lightsabers on and off sometimes while dueling, and it bothers me, so I decided to make this video. Anyway, if you made it this far and understood my confusing rambling, then thank you for watching. May the Force be with you.